Every single day you wake up, you make a choice. You pick your phone over your kid. You pick work over dinner. You say later so many times that later never comes. And you call that being responsible. You think working all day and paying the bills makes you a good dad? Pause, it doesn't. It just makes you someone who pays the bills. Your kids don't need a wallet. They need you clear's throat. My name is David. I am 89 years old. And my daughter, my only daughter Claire, put me in a care home on a cold Tuesday morning in November. She packed my slippers and my glasses in a bag, hugged me at the door, and said, "Dad, this is the right thing." Pause, and she was right. She was 100% right. I sat in that little room alone, listening to a stranger's TV through the wall, and I finally understood. I had spent 60 years teaching her that this is what love looks like. You drop someone off. You do the practical thing. You go home. I taught her that, with my own hands. Over 60 years. Sit with me a few minutes. What took me 89 years to figure out. I'll give it to you right now, for free. Music softens. My dad was a quiet man. And I want to be clear. Quiet is not the same as peaceful. Quiet just means he never said anything. He worked at a wood mill his whole life. Every night he came home dusty and tired, sat in his chair, ate his food, and went to bed. That was it. No stories, no jokes. Nothing. I was maybe 6 years old, standing in the kitchen doorway one night, just watching him eat by himself after everyone else was done. His hands were enormous, cracked and rough from working every single day. And I thought, the way little kids think things that stick with them forever. I thought, that man right there is what a real father looks like. Work hard, don't complain, provide. That one thought ran the rest of my life. I built everything on it. I married Dorothy in 1959. She was 23. She laughed at everything. Her laugh could fill up a whole room. I loved that about her from the very first day. And then, slowly, year by year, I gave her less and less to laugh about. Not because I was mean. I never hurt her. I just wasn't really there. I came home, I ate, I went to bed. Just like my father. I thought that was the job. I thought if I paid for everything and kept the lights on, that was enough. Claire came along in 1961. Bright little girl. Serious eyes. Every Saturday morning she'd follow me out to the garage and just hand me whatever tool I needed, before I even asked. She just knew. Pause. A little girl doing that so her dad would notice her for 5 minutes. I should have seen that. I just called her my good helper and kept working. By the time I was 42, I had 3 hardware stores running across the county. My name was on the sign out front. I drove a car I never could have imagined growing up. I looked at my life and I thought, I made it. I actually made it. Music rises a little. I remember one morning in 1973. I got to the store before anyone else. Everything was neat. Shelves stocked. My name right there on the front window. I stood there looking at it. Pause, and do you know what I felt? Long pause, nothing. I felt absolutely nothing. Not happy, not proud. Just empty. Like I'd been hungry for something my whole life and finally got to the restaurant and the food wasn't there. I called Dorothy that morning. Told her, I did it, honey. I don't even remember what she said. I wasn't really listening. Nobody tells you that part. You think when you finally reach the big goal, something inside you will settle down. It won't. The room just gets quieter than you thought it would be. Music goes very quiet. Dorothy got sick in 1987. Cancer. She was sick for 3 years, and she handled it better than I've handled anything in my whole life. During those 3 years, I learned to cook pasta and do the laundry. I showed up with soup. I drove her to appointments. I told myself that was love. One evening in February, I remember the window was all frosted over. She had the little lamp on next to her bed. She looked at me and said, David, do you actually like me? Pause, not love me, like me. Like a friend. Like a person. I said, of course I do, Dorothy. What kind of question is that? She nodded and looked back at the window. She said, real quiet, I just always wondered. Long pause. She died 4 months after that. She died still wondering. Clears throat. I carried those words for 30 years and never knew what to do with them. Claire knew her mother was lonely. Kids always know. She never said it to my face back then, but she remembered. She kept every bit of it. I had a good friend named Earl. He ran a lumber yard near us. In 1994, his wife left him. He came and sat in my office, which almost never happened, 2 stubborn old men like us, and he said, David, I think I was right there the whole time and I missed it. I missed the whole thing. I told him he'd be okay. Patted him on the back, sent him home. Earl died in 2019. His daughter put it on the internet. Claire showed me. He died alone in the house he worked his whole life to own. I should have told Earl the truth that day. I should have said, me too. Earl, I think I'm missing it too. I have 2 old friends. Well, had. There's Martin, 91 years old. Still fighting with his neighborhood about a fence somebody built wrong back in 2003, 20 years later. Still angry about it, still writing complaint letters. His son told me last year, "Pop's still sharp, just mad. Always mad about something." Martin owned his house, had money in the bank, by every normal measure, a successful man. Pause, completely miserable, and then there was Ruth. Ruth was Dorothy's friend before she was mine. Her husband died when he was 57, left her with almost nothing. She lived in a small house in Maryland with her old dog and a garden and piles of library books everywhere. I went to visit her maybe 10 years ago, half thinking I'd find some sad, worn-out old woman. She opened the door with flour all over her hands, looked me up and down and said, "David, you look awful. Come in, I'll make coffee." She made me laugh 3 times in 1 hour. 3 real laughs. I don't think I'd laughed like that in a full year. I asked her how she stayed so cheerful. She got quiet for a second, like she was thinking about it properly, and she said, "I just stopped waiting for someone to tell me I was allowed to be happy." Stop waiting for someone to tell me I was allowed. That's it. That's the whole secret. Not money, not a garden, not library books. She just decided she didn't need permission to enjoy her life. Martin never decided that. I never decided that. Not while it still would have mattered. Music swells, then gets quiet again. Here is what hit me, sitting on that little bed in the care home, staring at curtains I didn't pick. I was never chasing the stores or the car or my name on the sign. I was chasing a feeling. One specific feeling I saw for half a second in my father. That feeling of having done enough. Of being allowed to stop. Of being okay exactly where you are. I thought I had to earn that feeling. I thought if I worked long enough, reached high enough, at some point the world would tap me on the shoulder and say, "All right, David, you did it. You can relax now." Clear's throat, the world never says that. It just shows you the next thing to want. I could have felt that peace when I was 35. I could have come home early one Tuesday and sat with Dorothy, while the dinner got cold, and just been there with her. I felt it for the first time at 83, in a garden at the care home, watching a little bird on a feeder Claire had bought for my window. Pause. That's almost 50 years I made myself wait. 50 years I made Dorothy wait. 50 years Claire grew up with a father who was in the house but not really home. There's an old saying my grandmother used to tell me. The door to a happy life was never locked. You just kept walking past it looking for something bigger. She was right. Music, warm and slow. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you have time. And maybe you do. But time doesn't work the way you think it does when you're busy. It doesn't slow down and wait. You look up one day and your kid is grown. You look up again and your wife has stopped trying to reach you. You look up one more time and you're sitting in a room with curtains you didn't choose. Claire comes to see me every Thursday now. She brings coffee from the place I like and we sit and talk. Really talk. The way we never did when I was a younger and more important man. She told me once that she spent most of her 20s furious at me. I told her I knew. She said she's not angry now. I said I was glad, and I know I don't deserve that kindness. She didn't argue with me on that. Pause. That quiet right there. That was either mercy or honesty, maybe both. I still think about my dad's hands, cracked and rough at that kitchen table. I used to think he was strong. Now I think he was just scared. Scared that if he put down the work, there'd be nothing left about him that anyone wanted. I learned that same fear like it was a family heirloom passed straight down to me. So here is what I want you to hear. I'm not going to make it sound prettier than it is. I had a wife who died wondering if I liked her. I have a daughter who did the right thing dropping me off at that care home. I have a small room, a bird feeder outside my window, and more peace right now than I had in 40 years of building things. The happiness you're looking for is not at the end of any road. It's right where you are standing. It was at the dinner table. It was in that moment you chose the phone over your kid's face. It was every time Dorothy laughed, and I didn't even look up. I'm 89 years old. I've outlived people I loved and made mistakes I can't fix. But I know one thing without any doubt. Your life will be exactly as warm as you decide to make it. Not someday, not after the promotion, not when the kids are older. Right now. Today. Music plays softly. If something in this story hit you, share it. Right now. Send it to the one person in your life who is running so fast they forgot to look at the people running beside them. Don't wait until it's too late to share it. And I want to ask you something in the comments. And I really do read every single one. What is the one thing you keep telling yourself you'll do someday? Write it down. Someday starts with seeing it clearly. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, real ones, from a life fully lived, subscribe. Not for me. I've already lived my life. Subscribe for yourself, because these things are worth hearing while you still have time to use them.